Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. So after this past weekend of obviously the LEC and the LCS playoffs, we had a ton of big series. We had Cloud9 TL, we had G2 Mad Lions, and after we saw the results of some of those games, I tweeted this out where I said, what if Perkz makes it to MSI and G2 doesn't? Because obviously, dating back to the offseason, this was one of the biggest stories, Perkz going from G2 to Cloud9, and then these kind of being on a collision course for MSI, for Worlds, for these international events where, we've been asking ourselves, what if Perkz goes up against G2? Like, we're going to be living in the craziest timeline. That's something we never thought, really imagined that we would see, and that's going to be really, really interesting. And how's that going to feel? Is that going to be weird for them? Is that going to be awkward for them? Are they going to be super inspired to play against each other? Is there going to be a ton of trash talk, or is there just going to be respect? Like, it's going to be really, really interesting. And obviously the big part of that equation was always G2 seems pretty likely to be at MSI, but can Cloud9 get there? And then can Cloud9 actually get to a position where they get to match up with them? But all of a sudden, things are changing. Things are looking a little bit different. Things are going pretty well for Cloud9 over in the LCS, and things are maybe looking a little bit shaky for G2. So in this video today, I just wanted to go over, talking a little bit about both these teams, talking about Perkz, talking about Cloud9, talking about G2, and what the future looks like for both of them, and if potentially Perkz is better off without G2, if he's maybe in a better position now at Cloud9. But before we get into that, I just want to mention real quick, if you guys have not already, please take a second and smash that like button. I would appreciate it so much. It really helps me out the YouTube algorithm. It's an awesome way to help support my channel and my content. Also, subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest videos so you guys don't miss out on anything we got going on in the near future. With that being said, here we go. So, taking a look at what happened in the LCS. Again, obviously, here's what the LCS bracket is looking like. We have Cloud9 in the finals. This is after they took down Team Liquid, who took down TSM. In both of those series were 3-1. So, just based on those results overall, you would say that Cloud9 are pretty substantial favorites to, take down the LCS title, which would be really, really crazy. It would be really hype. Cloud9's looking really good, honestly. Perkz and Blabber, I think, are an absolute world-class mid-jung duo when they're both playing at their best, which I think they are both playing very, very solidly right now. They have a ton of veterans with a ton of international experience, guys like Sven, guys like Perkz, who have been there and done that. Even like Vulcan is absolutely, can be world-class on, his best day, so he's very, very capable. And then, yes, they have Fudge, who has maybe been a little bit up and down over the course of the season, and obviously isn't world-class, but again, he's very, very young, has so much potential. He is, I believe, learning so much from week to week from all these different experiences. I think he learned a ton from the lock-in tournament, a ton from the regular season, and I think he's continuing to learn a ton from these playoffs, and I think they're very, very good at finding ways to get Fudge involved. They are setting him up with picks, with compositions, with champions that are necessary to succeed, and for better or for worse, whether you think Fudge is pretty good, whether you think he's great, whether you think he's trash, he is doing good things. He is contributing overall solidly to these Cloud9 games, and even when he's going up against guys like Alfari and Someday in these playoffs, he is still looking very, very solid. He is still looking very, very good. Now, do I think Fudge is going to be a good top laner headed into a tournament like MSI? No, absolutely not, but I think Cloud9 is going to continue to put him on tanks, show heavy presence toward the top side, have Perkz roam up a ton, have Blabber play around his lane and be able to support him to get them to the position where they can still win, and where they can still cover up one kind of, I don't want to say weak member, but weaker member, especially when comparing to the other four members of Cloud9, who again, I really do believe can play on an international stage very, very successfully. I think all four of these guys, again, when they're at their best, they've all had low moments where, maybe not, but especially with Perkz at the helm of this whole thing, I think they're in a very, very good position. And again, heavy favorites of the LCS. They won in the regular season. Lock-in tournament, they got second, barely. Lost in a 5-game series and went all the way to Game 5. Regular season, they were the champs, and now headed in the playoffs, they're the 1 seed. They're looking good. It's either going to be TL or TSM in the finals, and either way, I do believe they're going to be heavy, heavy favorites, and it'll be interesting. So, they are kind of the favorites to head into MSI, and then you start to kind of talk about how good are they relative to maybe the LEC teams or the LPL or the LCK, and obviously people are going to say that the LCS is a peg down from a lot of those regions, and I do believe that, but looking at this Cloud9 team specifically, I think they do have a lot of talent. I think they do have a lot of veterans who, again, if they're playing their best headed into MSI, they can be scary. They can be dangerous. I don't think it's a team that is just going to get rolled over by a lot of these teams. I think they should hopefully be able to put up a fight. I don't know exactly what that means or how that's going to go, but especially when you're comparing them over in the LEC right now, where Mad Lions is looking pretty good, but G2 is showing some holes. G2 is showing some signs of weakness. Rogue is showing some holes, showing some signs of weakness, and Mad Lions was very, very shaky throughout the regular season. I don't think the LEC has a clear dominating team. Obviously, it's G2 if they can get everything together, but they've played 2 series in the playoffs right now, and in both of those series, they have absolutely not had things together. When we go over and take over a look at things in the LEC, obviously, again, this past weekend, we had G2 Mad Lions 3-1. We have had G2 losing and going to the losers bracket before and making runs out of it, but to lose 3-1 to a team like Mad Lions, especially after they had a big wake-up call against Schalke last week, that is pretty concerning. And then for Schalke to go on and get 3-1 by Rogue and show that, Schalke is a dangerous team. They 3-0'd Fnatic, but maybe they, aren't that great, so it's not too big of an excuse for G2. I do think G2 matches up really, really well against Rogue. I do think they should have no problem getting past Rogue there, but then we've seen in the past that Mad Lions is a tough matchup for G2. They get really inspired playing against them. They're not afraid of them. They match up well. They come prepared. They have good drafts. They play a crazy style that G2 likes to play that style as well, but, when things get scrappy and things get crazy like that, it can really break either team's way, and you just got to win a couple of games in a best of 5, especially with a team like Mad Lions, who, again, they looked inconsistent throughout the season. They went up and down, but when you look at each of their players individually, they have very, very talented and skilled players who, overall, they're not as talented of a team as G2. They're not a better team than G2, but if they're playing better at that moment, they're absolutely capable of beating G2 again. And then that would bring up the question of, if Cloud9 over in the LCS is the favorite, and if they are going to make it to MSI, and then we have the one half of the Perkz and G2 matchup, what if G2 doesn't make it? I mean, I don't really think that's crossed anyone's mind throughout the whole season. Is G2, they lost Perkz, and that was scary, and people were like, oh, they're losing their heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears, and yada, 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 but they got Reckless. They got probably the best AD carry in the West of all time, and they should be good to go, right? I mean, they have the best player in the LEC at every single position, a lot of people would say, and they're very, very talented. They have a ton of international experience. They have a ton of domestic experience. They have guys who have won titles, been to world finals, won MSI. They've done everything, and they're going up against a bunch of teams in the LEC that haven't, and sometimes they sandbag in the regular season a little bit, or sometimes they even sandbag in the playoffs, but when push comes to shove, G2 has always found a way to do it. But more recently, we've been hearing some issues about G2. We've been saying Grabs, talk about their struggles of front-to-back team fighting. We've heard some people really not loving their drafts and complaining about their meta reads and stuff like that. And then also we've heard Yankos talk about maybe there's a leadership issue at G2. Maybe they don't have a leader who is, gonna be the one to inspire this team and to get them to play great and to get them to play their best and be their best consistently. And that Reckless has said, I just want to be a member of a supporting cast. I don't want to be that leader. I didn't want to be that guy in Fnatic. I'm not that guy on G2. So maybe there is more to it. And yes, I do think that these Cloud9 G2 matchups would be so fun to watch. Like, if they do end up playing at MSI, it's going to be great. And there's going to be so many memes. There's going to be so much trash talk. G2 is going to be playing their heart out. Perkz is going to be playing his heart out. And it would be so fun. But Cloud9's got to get it done. They got one more series to win. G2's got to get it done. They've got 2 more series to win. But then overall, just talking about if Perkz is better off with G2, I mean, it's kind of interesting, because if Perkz comes over, he just won his first LCS regular season. If he gets an LCS title, if he goes to MSI, expectations for LCS teams are so low. I mean, when you're looking at the expectations for a G2, they're expected to win the LEC title, and Cloud9, maybe at this point is expected to win the LCS title as well, but they weren't necessarily coming into the season. G2 is expected to win the LCS title. They're expected to go to MSI, and they're expected to probably at least make it to the finals of MSI. I think anything less than that would be considered kind of a disappointment for the organization, for the players, for the G2 fans, for fans of the LEC. And then headed into Worlds, it's the same thing. I mean, they lost in the semifinals last year, and I think largely that was considered a big disappointment. That was considered a failure of a season. I know a lot of the players considered it that. And maybe in the context of history, it'll go down as, that's another semifinals appearance. That's adding to all these guys' resumes. But, I mean, right now, it felt kind of bad. This is G2. This is Europe's. This is the West's biggest hope. And we can only make it to semifinals. That kind of sucks. But now, Perkz over in the LCS, the pressure's off. If he does anything, if he gets out of groups at Worlds with Cloud9, LEC fans are going to love him. I mean, they already do. He's already super, super popular, super fun, and Cloud9 fans are loving him, and they're glad to have him. But if he gets out of groups at Worlds, that's going to be awesome. If he makes it to a semifinals at Worlds, he might, you know, like really, really add to his legacy and add to his popularity and add to his brand. He's already over here making a ton of money. He wanted to play mid lane, so he's getting that. Hopefully, you know, I don't know exactly if he likes North America or likes Los Angeles or likes playing the LCS or whatever, but I mean, he's potentially has a great life and is finding new ways to add to his legacy in a much less an environment of much less pressure. Yes, he is still a competitor. Yes, he still wants to do amazing things, and by coming to NA, yes, he has a way less chance of winning MSI, of winning Worlds, anything like that. But you know, G2 last year, they maybe looked pretty far away from some of those goals, and there's still other ways to add to his legacy. There's still other ways to add to his brand. There's still ways to make more money. There's still ways to live a fulfilling life, and I don't know. I mean, the question just comes up where, yeah, G2 still having their struggles, and even though they're doing all this stuff and they have all this pressure and they're you know, grinding super hard, are they the favorites to win MSI? Are they favorites to win a world championship even with Reckless coming over? You know, like, I don't know. It's still going to be very tough. There's still very tough LCK teams, very tough LPL teams, and now even tough teams in the LEC that are going to give G2 trouble. And in the end, you know, it's like, maybe Perkz is worse off with G2, and maybe G2 is worse off with Perkz, but maybe Perkz ends up in a better situation. If Perkz goes to MSI and G2 doesn't, there's going to be so many memes, there's going to be so many people trash talking, it's going to be hilarious, and Perkz is still going to have opportunities to go internationally, to have all these amazing experiences, to be there with a new team and a new fan base, and the people in Europe still love him, and the people in NA are going to learn to love him, and again, the performances and any small victories and stuff are going to be celebrated so much more, and yeah, maybe it'll be better, maybe it'll be worse, who knows exactly, but yeah, I mean, just living in this world that right now, Cloud9 seems like they're not a lock to go to MSI, but it seems pretty likely that they're going to be going to MSI, and a lot of people, for the first time in a while, have some question marks about G2. I think if you had to pick right now, you'd probably still say G2 are the favorites to come out of Europe, but Rogue has been a good team this whole year. They beat Schalke 3-1. G2 only beat them 3-2. I'm still picking G2 in that series. But then in the finals, coming back just a week later against a team that just beat them 3-1, they got a week to make the changes, to make the preparation, and Mad Lions gets to watch them play another series, gets to see another you know, series of their picks and their strategy and their playstyle and everything. It's gonna be tough. I really do want to see these Perkz versus G2 matchups, but all of a sudden, it might not be happening, and it might not be because of Cloud9, it might not be because of NA, it might not be because of Perkz, it might be because of G2, but that is pretty much it for this video today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. I would appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. It helps you out so much with the YouTube algorithm. Leave a comment down below. Do you think Perkz is better off with G2? Is G2 going to make it to MSI? Is Cloud9 going to make it to MSI? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on anything we talked about in today's video. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!